Well, my animals decided to do what animals do best, and that is find the most inopportune moment to go ahead and have babies. They picked the coldest and like record cold numbers for our area. The coldest weeks to have lambs, that is when they decided to have lambs. Now, I have my barn that we got built. That was a priority when we moved here because at our old farm, we really did not have a great barn set up. We had a couple stalls, but it was in the back side of Chris's shop where there was no sunlight. So it was dark, it was dingy, it was cold. And so whenever we had any animals give birth in the winter, it was always such a huge struggle to get them to stay warm. It was almost like a wind tunnel through the one portion of the barn where they were. And so it was just windy and cold. So that was a priority, is for me to get a barn up. I wanted southern facing doors so that way if this exact situation happened, I was prepared. And in a way, I was prepared. I had stalls ready to go. They were getting direct sunlight. However, I'm not quite sure anybody could really be prepared for dealing with a bunch of lambs being born in single digits. And that is exactly what happened. We reached record low temperatures in Maryland, which some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, seriously, try negatives. And no, we did not hit negatives. I think the wind chill might have been negatives because it was pretty windy. But we were hitting, I think, 6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty darn cold for us. So our bodies are just not used to it. And these poor lambs were not used to it. And a couple of them were really struggling. So these sheep having lambs this time of year put a little extra stress on me. And poor little Theodore went through a little bit of mom withdrawal because he was inside staying warm with the kids and I was outside trying to keep lambs alive. Now, this mama was a first-time ewe, so she has never had a lamb before. And I actually laughed out loud when I was filming this because you can see her turn around and look behind her like, what the heck is that? And then every time it moves, it like startled her. I was dying. I was laughing so hard at her reaction. So I was a little concerned when she seemed a little freaked out that she had just had a baby. And so I was trying to give her plenty of space to bond with her baby. I was really worried that she would be stressed out and would reject it, but she did a fantastic job. She cleaned him up really nicely and is just taking care of him really well. That's one really important thing about raising lambs is you really want to make sure that the moms and the lambs are contained in what we call a jug. And a jug is basically just a little stall where the sheep can go to be with their newborn babies, where they can just form that attachment, where they don't have to fight off any other little lambs or any other sheep. It's just a little tiny area for them to be so that they can really develop that bond between one another. The other important thing about the jug is it allows me to be able to catch the sheep a little bit easier, just in case I need to intervene for some reason. Now, because sheep are a prey animal, they have to get on their feet super quick and be able to run if need be. So I find it very fascinating how quickly these little babies get up on their feet and start working on walking around and being more stable. Now, once I know the mom's had a few minutes to clean the baby off and she's kind of relaxed a little bit, I now am getting the other stall ready for her, just bedding it down with some deep straw and getting it set up with her so she can spend the night there in this stall by herself, just with her little lamb.
With moving the lamb.
And now because I raise 100% grass-fed, grass-finished sheep, I am feeding them lots of good quality hay. That is how she's going to get her calories this time of year where there isn't fresh grass. So I'm feeding her dried grass instead. And that's why I'm trying to make sure that everybody has plenty supply of hay in their stalls at all times. So here Selah is helping me move the lamb on over to the stall with the mom. The moms typically are pretty good about following the lamb, but because this mom is very skittish to humans, she was a little reluctant, and so we kind of had to do a little corralling. But we got them both safe in the stall. I have this lamp that I'm going to set on really, really low just so that she can see her lamb and just work on that bond through the night. So here are the other ladies chowing down on their dinner. I have them locked up just in case we have another lamb be born. They're out of the elements and inside protected. Bright and early in the morning, I walked out and saw this beautiful full moon, and I just thought it was so neat. And now back in to check on them. And of course, that baby is super smart, and she is bedded down in that hay, snuggled up, staying warm. Now, because we've had such record cold temperatures and for such a long period of time, it's been almost 2 weeks that we've had these deep, deep cold temperatures. So our pond froze so solid. These kids have been out here riding their bikes across the pond. Even our pig that gets loose, he goes and runs across the ice. It's been so much fun to be able to do this because I know for several years it's not been cold enough and we haven't had ice. So this has been a real special treat this year. And just like clockwork, number 2 lamb is born. So as you can see, I now set the one mama up aside into that little pen, and then I have the other mama here in this larger area. So one can be with her little lamb, the other can be with her little lamb. Now, it is, I think, about 2 o'clock in the morning right now. I went to bed and was worried that the lambs were going to be really cold. And so I found Theodore's little baby outfits that would possibly fit on these lambs. And because I couldn't sleep because I was fretting over them being cold, I brought some little outfits out for them and put them on the lambs. Now I do have little dog jackets that I have ordered, but they're not going to arrive for a couple days. So I figured at least if I can put these lambs inside these baby outfits, it'll provide a little bit of warmth. And, that's what I do. I fret in the middle of the night. And so nothing like making a trip out to the barn to put little lambs in clothes.
Oh, that's what I heard. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. And I gotta figure out which sheep it is. Who had the baby lamb and is completely ignoring it? Oh, Mommy. You had 2 precious little babies. Okay, I'm gonna it's okay. Oh, honey. Oh.
Now, I was doing some work really early in the morning and sitting at my breakfast table with a cup of coffee, working on my emails, and the kids were all still asleep, which was kind of crazy that I could slip away from Theodore for any length of time. But I was. And I heard this little lamb hollering. And I thought, oh my gosh, did a lamb slip out of the barn somehow and come wandering around? I wasn't sure. I was so discombobulated as to how I could be hearing this lamb. So I went outside searching for it, and lo and behold, it is a very, very vocal lamb, one of twins that was born last night. And so they were in the stall where they should have been, but my gosh, it was so loud. So I came out and I'm starting to take care of getting them situated as well. Now, if you notice, the other 2 sheep, they had single lambs. This was their first lambing. And so they tend to have singles their first time around. And then after that first lambing, they will have multiples most likely. So this mama, she's had lambs before. So she had twins this time around. So that was a really sweet treat. Now, you all know that Chris, my husband, is really not an animal person. He loves doing, any of the work that he needs to do around the farm, but the animals he just really doesn't love doing the animal work. So, but I needed his help because I had these 2 lambs that I was really concerned I wasn't seeing them nurse. I saw them trying and I saw their mom kind of kicking them off. But I have had lambs die before because I thought they were nursing, and then come to find out they must have not actually been nursing, and then they've not made it. So I now am slightly paranoid about that, and I want to make sure that I see and I hear and I have actual evidence that lambs are nursing on their moms well. So Chris is holding the mama still while I get in there and direct that lamb to the mother's nipple so that way I can actually see them nursing. And now we have another set of twins that joined the group, and I feel like I am running a sheep maternity ward. So in Maryland, we were predicted to get anywhere from, I'm not joking, like 3 to 18 inches. So the snow started that night and had continued on throughout this day. So you're starting to see some accumulation taking place. Now I pulled out my drone to get some really pretty pictures of the animals in the snow. And Marge, who is my livestock guardian dog, who protects my animals from flying objects, you can see was just so anxious to just take that drone down. So I had to keep scolding her and telling her to leave it alone. You can see she is just so wanting to eat it. So the girls called us to come up and watch them roll their barrel down the hill. We destroyed all the sleds last year, and I didn't realize that they were all broken and destroyed. And so I thought we had a decent stockpile of them in the barn, but last the kids told me that we did not, in fact, have any sleds. So they got resourceful and pulled out some barrels that we have sitting around from when we used to store feed in them and decided to barrel roll down the hill, which if you actually think about it, they don't need snow for at all. So, but that's just what they found themselves getting into. So now again, as I came out here to throw hay, I noticed that 2 of the lambs were just not looking great. I hadn't seen them nursing yet. The girls are helping me just like Chris and I did earlier. I'm holding the mama and they are making sure that those little lambs are nursing thoroughly. And she is so irritated. And that's what I was noticing when they were trying to nurse, that she just seemed really agitated that they were nursing on her. So I just want to make sure that they have a good amount of colostrum. It is super important, especially in these cold temps. These lambs really need to be eating plenty of food. And of course, he fell asleep with all of that commotion. He, again, had no idea what was going on and is just passed out, snuggled up next to mama. So I've been keeping an eye on these lambs every couple hours. I keep coming out and I just am noticing this one lamb not looking good at all. And you can tell by its body language. So I'm trying to nudge it over to see if I can't at least just get it in the direction of its mom's nipples. So we have these 2 lambs that are not looking great. Okay, you can see they're in the sunshine now. I'm gonna get a heat lamp put up in there and gotta kind of figure out what's going on. I'm gonna open up the stall door into the milk stall so they can get some fresh sunlight because the sun's out. It's really nice. So I'm hoping maybe that can help them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to do heat lamps or what, but they need to warm up because they're shivering. So
It's stressful. It's just so darn stressful.
So I'm trying to run heat lamps, and I have to run electric from the house by extension cords all the way down to the barn because we do not have electric to the barn yet. So I'm getting extension cords run out here, and I'm just not getting the heat lamp to work. So now the lambs are shivering. I'm trying to get heat on them as quickly as possible, and the heat lamp's not working. So it's just frustrating. I just feel like I need to get these guys in a better place quickly.
I cannot get this heat lamp hooked up right now. So what I'm going to end up doing is, I don't even know, maybe take the lambs inside. I don't know. Like, they're both shivering like crazy right now. Those are lambs that do not look good. Not that one. That one looks fine. It's these two right here.
So of course, I'm out here working on troubleshooting electric, and this goose with blood all over its body comes walking around the corner. I'm speechless. How is this goose bleeding? And I just, I just can't even deal with this right now. So I don't even know what to say. So trying to get these extension cords worked on, and the goose will have to just wait. So then I am going back and forth, and I realize, doggone it, this light bulb has blown out. So apparently I have power to the extension cords, but now we have a blown bulb. So I sent my daughter out to the farm supply store, to get more light bulbs. And in the meantime, I brought these lambs in the house because I am really, really concerned about them. I have got to get their body temperatures up to a normal level. Now, Chris and I used to have this heating blanket on our bed years and years ago, and I used to love it because I am so sensitive to the cold. So I would turn that blanket on and let the bed get all nice and warm before jumping in bed, and then we'd turn it off because it would get really hot. But then I started researching how the EMF frequencies in these heated blankets are actually really harmful. So I was like, all right, well, I'll get that out of my bed. See, this one's mouth is warm. Feel this one. This one's mouth is cold. But I just had this weird feeling, like, don't just get rid of the blanket. So, of course, here I am, decades later, using it to keep these lambs' body temperatures elevated. So, see, this is why we hang on to things for years and years and never get rid of them. Because if I was in this situation and didn't have this heating blanket, I'd be like, daggone it, you know what I need right now is a heating blanket. And I can't get it right now. So the other one little lamb, I put the little jacket on her. She seemed pretty normal, and she was walking around and seemed pretty lively once I just got her to stop shivering. So I brought her back out. But this other lamb that is laying in the house with the heat blanket, he is not doing well. I'm really concerned. And so now, look at these guys. You can see they're hunched over. These are signs of very, very cold lambs, cold animals. They're hunched over, tucked under, and shivering or not, you can tell they're just freezing. So even with me hanging this second heat lamp, and I had it hanging right over these lambs, they still were just not getting warm enough. And I just feel like maybe there was just too much draft. You can see I put the tarp over the one set of sheep to try and keep that heat down, but it just was not working. I felt like I was just treading water. I was not making any progress with these lambs getting warm. So I went to the pile of Theodore's clothes again, grabbed a few more outfits that I could get together that would work on these lambs, brought them out to see if that would help. I put the straw bales in place to try and help keep the warmth in that general area, and figured, let me give them a little bit of time to see if that works. I'm going to go finish getting the rest of the chores done. I wanted to get hay in the little stalls for the pigs because they'll eat it, they'll bed down in it. It's kind of a combination of both. And you can see, I mean, they went absolutely nuts over this hay. But the pigs I don't worry about too much because they'll snuggle their little bodies together and just stay warm. I'm going to call this pig Mischief Maker. That's just his name. Mischief Maker. Mr. Mischief.
Go back to your pen. I just gave you hay.
And of course, I never had a video baby monitor for any of my children. And I got one a couple years ago so I can keep an eye on the sheep in situations like this. And I noticed that they were still shivering and cold. So before I went to bed, I had the kids help me bring all the lambs inside. And we stuck them in boxes, trying to get them warmed up. I wanted to keep them in the kitchen because the kitchen is cooler than up in my bedroom, but they were still just not very warm. A couple of them were just not warm enough, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to contain them down in my kitchen. So I figured I would do what every husband wants to hear and put the lambs up in our bathtub. I guess I should probably give Chris a heads up that he's got 4 lambs in his bath. So first thing in the morning, I made my cup of coffee, and I was smart about it this time and decided I'd put it on the stove on my little, warming pad. I can't even remember what it's called. So I put it on there to stay warm while we took these lambs out and got them fed. I was laughing so hard because the baby monitor has the sound on it, and the lambs were in our bathtub and could hear the mamas through the baby monitors calling for them, and they were hollering back to their mom through the baby monitors. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. So here they all are reunited with their mamas, and those little tails are just wagging a mile a minute. Now this one lamb, the one that had the really cold mouth, I had it in the house all night long. I did not have it on the heating blanket because it's pretty warm in our bedroom and our bathroom. And so I had it in there, and it was still cold this next morning. So I brought him out to see if he would kind of jump up and get excited to see his mom. And because his mom's skittish, I just kind of wanted to let them have a little bit of space. But he was not even strong enough to stand up. So this is my first sign that things might actually not be going so well for him. I mean, look at the way he's standing. He can't even support himself properly. So I'm starting to be concerned. Maybe he's not getting enough to eat. Maybe his body temperature is just so cold. I'm dealing with hypothermia. I'm not really sure, but this is when I start to get a little worried.
Those of you who think that single digits are not very cold and you guys can handle negative digits, you guys are sick. You're sick. Because it is 10 degrees, which to some of you is probably quite comfortable, and I am miserable, and everything is falling apart. I'm getting ready to go hand milk a sheep so I can try and get some milk for her little lamb who is dying in my kitchen. And it's all because of these cold temperatures. So, blah. Oh, piggly wigglies! Oh, piggies! Piggy piggies! Not you, crazy cat. Piggy piggy! Hello? 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 Hello, Gloria! Hello, little Miss Ink. How are you, sweetie? Hello, hello.
So because I'm still dealing with an issue with the cold, I am trying to rack my brain to come up with any solution that I can to try and get these lambs warmer so that they don't have to spend another evening or 2 or 3 or, a week in my house. So I grabbed the tractor and a stack full of pallets, and I'm going to take them down to the barn. And I'm just going to make a bunch of little jugs just so I can get heat lamps on all the lambs and not have to worry about them anymore. And look who I find running around the house again this morning.
Hey! Where'd you come from?
Go be with your pig friends.
So after a little bit of time in the heating blanket, he was just kind of laying really floppy. He started standing up on his own, which was really, really great because I wasn't able to get him to stand for probably a good 12 hours. So I was thrilled that he was up on his own.
Not really sure what's going on. What are you doing? Like, are you gonna knock me down and eat me? Like, little does he know he's gonna be bacon in 2 weeks. I'm not entirely sure where he thinks he's going. Hey, pig! What are you doing?
So this morning I woke up to my baby monitor beeping at me, and it was alerting me that there was no connection. So it looks to me like the one mama had a little midnight snack. So the sun is shining, and I really want to get the sun rays on these lambs because I know even though it's really cold, that sun will really help and bring their body temperatures up. So all of the lambs at this point are out with their mamas. I've got the heat lamps on the ones that were really cold, and I did get my little dog jackets in the mail. So the two that were struggling the most, they have their little blankets on, and with the heat lamp, they're doing fantastic. So the only one that's in my house right now is that one little boy, and he's just still really struggling.
Oh, little lost one. Oh! Find your mommy. You can do it. Yay. All right. Where's his mom? You. Go find your baby. You're always losing them. Don't give me the side eye. No, that's not your mommy.
So one thing that I do is intervene when I start to see lambs not nursing. Now, most of the time, if they have that suckling reflex, they can still be bottle fed. But there are a lot of times in situations like right now where that lamb doesn't even have any desire to suckle on a nipple at all. And there is a really high risk of aspirating where they choke on the milk. It goes down the wrong pipe because they don't swallow properly. So I finally got over my fear of tubing a lamb, and I was able to successfully tube this lamb and put the milk right into his belly so that I know there's no aspiration and that baby's getting plenty of milk in its belly. So Theodore was just not letting me put him down. So I figured, all right, buddy, let's go. Come on back out with me. I bundled him up real good, and I'm putting him in my carrier, which I actually had a failed attempt at putting it into this carrier because he was so big and bulky, I had to switch over to my wrap. So here he is. He looks like a little koala bear. So I'm getting the tractor started for Chris so he can go get some round bales out for all the horses and the livestock. And I am just getting some chores done for the evening. Thank goodness that we have this wood furnace to heat our house because it is just keeping things so nice and cozy in our house. And Chris is working really hard to keep the wood supply up and to keep that stove rolling. So it's the end of the day, and I'm getting all the lambs put back into their jugs and back into their pens with the heat lamps and hay and closing them up for the night so that I can try and keep the heat in the barn. ducks are so cute. I guess maybe just because the pond's been frozen and they lost all of their friends, they're hanging out in the barn. And so I closed them up in the stall with the sheep. And they know every night now they just go into their little stall. So that makes me feel good that at least they're not going to get picked off by the fox.
Doody-doo. Beegaboo. Are you my little outside chore helper? Are you my little sheep herder? Are you my little hose drainer and hay thrower? Dee-wee. I'll go get you. You have hay on your face. Ew. Ew.
And there's really not much progress with this lamb today. He is standing on his own, which is really great, but I would like to see a much more lively and rigorous lamb at this point. And so Selah and I are out here watering animals, and I just think it's hilarious that she is in charge of the spigot for me while I'm out here filling up buckets. And I don't know, I just think it's so funny to see kids carefree and silly.
Selah and I just waited around for 10 minutes for the water to defrost out of the hose, only for Selah to then turn around and find that, in fact, the valve at the end of the hose was just closed and it was not, in fact, filled with ice. Kind of makes me feel stupid.
So Chris parked his truck and trailer up the hill and came in the house for breakfast one morning. And because the driveway is a sheet of ice, the weight of the trailer pushed, even though his emergency brake was on, it slid his truck down and through our yard fence. And so I guess now we have to get a new fence. Now we've got a freezer full of meats that I just have not used up in a long time. So we're sort of participating in the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge. And of course, the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge, the rules are you make your own rules. So even though, yes, I do buy a few things at the grocery store, I am making a real conscious effort to use up as much of the foods in our house that we can, that I just keep kind of shoving to the side. So today I thawed out a ton of old steaks and roasts, ossobuco, which is shanks, and I'm just making up a bunch of meats and slow cooking it down in a red wine sauce and putting it in the Dutch oven and just letting it cook all day long. So we're making that up today, which has been wonderful because I made a huge batch of it. And since it has been crazy out at the barn, it's just been really great because I can just keep reheating this up as I'm dealing with all the lamb chaos. And I know that I don't have to worry about making a new meal.
Be with me, Jesus. I ask you to stay, comfort my worries through the night until day. In the darkness, Lord Jesus, I am the devil's prey. So I beg of you, please just stay, stay.